Welcome to Uncovered Biblical History and Traditions, the channel dedicated to lost stories of the biblical past. Discover stories of pre-Christian historical roots, biblical legends, lost church history, and forgotten historical characters of faith. It is very helpful if you hit the like, subscribe, and share. Help build my channel, and let's take a look together into these uncovered forgotten tales. Imagine this. It's roughly 735 BCE. Two armies march toward Jerusalem, siege weapons ready. Leading one army is King Pekah, determined to conquer the fortified city. But here's what makes this moment extraordinary. Pekah is the king of Israel. And the people he's attacking, they're Jews. Wait, what? Israel attacking Jews? Aren't those the same thing? That's exactly what we've been taught to believe. But what if I told you that for most of ancient history, they were actually different peoples? Different kingdoms, sometimes even enemies on the battlefield. Welcome to today's episode, where we're going to unravel one of history's most persistent cases of mistaken identity. The relationship between Jews and Israelites isn't what most people think. Here's the key: all Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. Think of it like this: all Californians are Americans, but not all Americans are Californians. You could write a history of America and naturally include California within it. But you could also write California's history without chronicling the entire American experience. They're related, overlapping, but not identical. The same principle applies when we write the history of Israel, meaning the broader people descended from Jacob, who was renamed Israel. We necessarily include the Jewish people. But the Jewish people represent only one branch of a much larger tree. This distinction wasn't just academic. It shaped kingdoms, determined wars, and influenced the destiny of nations. To understand this split, we need to talk about the birthright, a special inheritance that carried specific promises, and the national name, Israel, in its most distinctive sense. According to biblical texts, this birthright wasn't given to the tribe of Judah, from whom the Jews descended. Instead, it went to other tribes, particularly Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons of Joseph. These birthright holders carried forward promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, promises about becoming many nations, about territorial expansion, about national greatness. The Jews, descended primarily from Judah, had their own important role. But the promises given to the birthright people were different. Throughout Scripture, when prophecies speak about Israel, in this special sense, they're often not referring to the Jewish people at all. This creates a fascinating puzzle. If promises were made about Israel becoming many nations, and if the Jews represent only one nation, then where are these other nations? This mystery has consumed historians for centuries. The separation didn't happen overnight. It resulted from political upheaval, family rivalries, and ultimately, civil war. It goes back to King Solomon's son, Rehoboam. When he ascended the throne, the people asked him to lighten the heavy burdens his father had imposed. Instead, Rehoboam promised to make their lives even harder. The result? Revolution. 10 of the 12 tribes revolted and broke away from the house of David. They formed their own kingdom in the north and kept the name, Israel. Only 2 tribes remained loyal, Judah and Benjamin. These became the kingdom of Judah, the origin of the Jewish people. From that moment forward, there were 2 separate Hebrew kingdoms: the northern kingdom of Israel, with its capital in Samaria, and the southern kingdom of Judah, capital in Jerusalem. They were brother nations, descended from the same patriarch. But as history would prove, they weren't always very brotherly. Here's something remarkable: the word Jew doesn't even appear in Scripture until more than 200 years after this split. When it finally does appear, the context is startling. We're in the reign of King Ahaz of Judah, approximately 735 BCE. Ahaz has a serious problem. 2 armies are marching on Jerusalem, one led by King Rezin of Syria, and the other by King Pekah of Israel. Let that sink in. The kingdom of Israel has formed a military alliance with Syria, a foreign nation, to make war against their own brothers in Judah. The prophet Isaiah documented this crisis. He identified the players. Syria's capital is Damascus, ruled by King Rezin. Israel's capital is Samaria, ruled by Pekah, son of Remaliah. Samaria is the head of Ephraim. Remember, Ephraim was one of the birthright holders. These allied armies marched toward Jerusalem, intent on conquest. 2 Kings gives us the dramatic details. King Pekah of Israel and King Rezin of Syria besieged King Ahaz in Jerusalem. They surrounded the city but couldn't overcome its defenses. During this conflict, Rezin captured the city of Elath and drove out its inhabitants, and here's where we see the word for the first time. The text says he drove out the Jews from Elath. Think about what's happening. The king of Israel is allied with Syria, fighting against the Jews. If Israel and the Jews were the same people, this would be like saying, the Americans allied with Mexico to drive out the Americans. It makes no sense. But it makes perfect sense once you understand that Israel and Judah were separate kingdoms, separate peoples, who sometimes found themselves on opposite sides of a battlefield. King Ahaz, besieged in Jerusalem, made a desperate decision. He sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, one of the ancient world's most fearsome empires. The message Ahaz sent is almost painful to read. He called himself Assyria's servant, even his son. He begged, "Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Syria, and out of the hand of the king of Israel, which rise up against me." Notice the language. Ahaz, the king of the Jews, is crying out to be saved from the hand of Israel. The Jews needed protection from Israel. They were enemies in this moment, fighting a brutal war over territory and power. So why does any of this matter today? Why should we care about a war fought nearly 3,000 years ago? Because understanding this distinction fundamentally changes how we read history and prophecy. Throughout ancient texts, there are promises made about Israel that were never fulfilled by the Jewish people. If we conflate these two identities, those prophecies seem to have failed. But if we understand that Israel and Judah were separate peoples with separate destinies, different possibilities emerge. Historians have long wondered what happened to the 10 northern tribes after their kingdom fell to Assyria in 722 BCE. They were conquered, scattered, and seemingly lost to history. But were they really lost? Or did they migrate, reform, and become nations we wouldn't recognize today as having Israelite origins? This question has spawned countless investigations throughout the centuries. What we can say with certainty, the biblical and historical records consistently maintain a distinction between Israel and Judah, between Israel and the Jews. When prophets spoke to these peoples, they often addressed them separately. When they made predictions about their futures, those predictions diverged. The kingdom of Israel faced conquest and dispersion by Assyria. The kingdom of Judah would later face conquest and exile to Babylon, but with an eventual return. The scriptures never called the northern kingdom by the name Jews. That term was reserved specifically for the people of Judah. It was only later historians, perhaps working with incomplete information, who began treating these terms as interchangeable. Historical precision matters. Words matter. The distinction between Jews and the broader category of Israelites isn't just semantic. It's recognition that the ancient world was complex, that the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob divided into different peoples with different stories. The Jewish people have maintained their identity remarkably across millennia. Their story is extraordinary and distinct. But it's not the whole story of Israel. Somewhere in history, there are other chapters, other peoples, other nations that descended from those northern tribes. But it starts with recognizing what that ancient battlefield outside Jerusalem revealed, that there was a day when Israel and the Jews were not just distinct peoples, but were actively at war with each other. And if they could be on opposite sides of a siege, calling on foreign powers to intervene in their conflict, then clearly they were never quite the same people after all. If you would like further context and the rest of the story, check out previous videos and future videos. If you would like more information where to research this subject, pause this image and look into these resources or find resources in description. If you have book sources or links of your own on this subject, please share in comments or email me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.